two kinds of voting. There's fair voting and there's this time motion and data. If there are no such motions, the committee no or no with right to NGOs, observer to veto to cancel made. Sorry. For example, when votes no, the draft resolution will not be passed, and the permanent members power to the veto on. So here it says veto does not apply in any other committee other than the Security Council. So I hope you have understood the thing. So we'll move on to procedural voting. Voting on any matter other than draft resolution and amendments is considered procedure. Remember, including the observers, in procedural voting, you cannot abstain or pass. A simple might be considered the simple majority just means that there should be more yes votes than no votes. So we'll move on to the motions that were to discuss later, the division of the question. For motion to vote by acclamation, motion for a roll call, and motion for division of the question. So I'll start off with motion to vote by acclamation. At the start of the session, that determine the number and jury and voting procedures. If a state responds with present, they can vote yes, no, or choose to abstain during the substantive voting. But if they respond with present with voting, they can only vote yes, no, and they will not be allowed to abstain because they had responded earlier with present with voting. So, and of course, those who vote yes to the rights to explain or no the rights to explain their votes, and speaking time is 90 seconds maximum. And the other one is the division of the question. So this, you'll be given a resolution paper. So clearly, this is a division of the part of a resolution into separate motions, which are debated and voted on separately. Simple majority to pass. It can be debated to the extent. If the motion passes, the chairperson will then ask the committee for all proposed divisions. Delegates may divide out single operative clauses or group. Sorry. If the motion passes, the chairperson will then ask the committee for all proposed divisions. Delegates may divide out single operative clauses or group of clauses. Then the delegates will specify which parts they want. After accepting the divisions, the chairperson will conduct a vote on each proposed division. So each proposal will have one speaker for and one speaker against. And if it passes, the separate parts voted on individually. And if the motion divided the question does not pass, the resolution will still remain intact. It will not be divided into separate motions that will be debated. That will be debated separately. So, yeah. Next, we'll go to the precedence of motions. So this is where each motion has a number of rank. So when motions are pending, motions with a higher rank may be made, but motions with a lower rank are out of order. Ideally, it's which motion can interrupt speech and which motion should be voted on. So we'll start with the point of personal privilege. This one can interrupt speech because it deals with audibility, sorry. So point of order may not interrupt speech, but it may be raised immediately after the speaker is done. Same with the others. So I think I'm done. And I'll
thank you, Neema. So up to there, I can see some people have questions in the chat box. So could you please go through them and answer them appropriately? So for instance, Lila is asking, what's the difference between saying no and saying abstaining during roll call voting?
Oh, the difference between saying no and abstaining. Let's say you have a motion. Let's say you are given a topic, and if you vote no, voting against supporting topics. But if you abstain, it means that you don't want to vote. So you're neither on no or yes. So you abstained from answering, from voting to that topic.
Okay, does anyone else have a question? You can definitely drop it in the chat box if you have any question. So I think at this juncture, we'll move on to position paper writing, which will be done by Joanne Jepkoril, who is one of our trainers. So Joanne, you may proceed.
Good morning. I will discuss the paper writing, but I can't project. Neema,
Yeah.
if you could kindly project the position paper writing for me.
Oh.
If you have it.
Okay. Is it at the end or?
Yeah, probably at
The
the
next page, you can just scroll down and then you'll see that.
Oh, okay.
Do you have the notes? That's the sample.
Is it the one?
No, that's sample. Okay. Just go before the sample. Yeah, the slide before it. Okay, I think it's okay. So can I train without the slides, the projection, or what? What do I do?
Okay. If it's causing too much trouble, then you can just proceed without it.
Okay. For position paper, you first drop it. And then for your position paper, before you begin the position paper, you first have to research your committee. You can do this on Wikipedia. You just get the general background of the country that you've been given. For example, information on your country's economy, your country's location, the legal system they follow. So before going on to write the position paper, you first have to get this general information about your country and whatever according to the topic you're given. Let's say you're given a document, right? So ask yourself whether your country allows or what human rights, how's the human rights situation in your country or nation, and how to write a position paper for your country or the delegation has been given, and also how to know your country's position or policies with regards to various. So Simon, information about the job that you've been given. So down to your committee, about your committee, the report and stuff that you.
First, I'm not going to give you the again. Or the parent wants to come for it during the week. Okay, the delegates, the delegate, okay. John, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. So once you've narrowed down to your committee,
It was fun. So let's make this by
John, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay. So you narrow down to then you narrow down to your committee topic. For example, your topic is on human rights. So you start researching on the human rights generally before dwelling into the specific aspects that you've been asked on. So then you can also find out your country's position with respect to the topic that you've been given. For example, human rights, the same example, you find out whether your country has been known for violating human rights, and stuff like that. So I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you've been allocated a country called the Czech Republic on a committee discussing violation of human rights. So the first question is, where do you begin, or where do you fall as a country? So number one, you conduct a quick research on Wikipedia or any other search engine. You find out where your country is located. That is the general information that you can look at. So number one, you can find out where your country is located, which legal system they follow. You can also find out whether they allow or believe in human rights. And lastly, you can find out about their economic aspects, everything of their living, how they live, how their country is conducted. So after getting that general information, you ask yourself, do you think the Czech Republic or whichever delegation has been given would support the obedience of human rights? So once you answer the question, you'll definitely know the position of your country. So other information you can look at is the list of developed countries. If you're not on it, then it means that you are still a developing country. So such information can help you rate where you fall in as a delegation. So a position paper is a paper stating the position or the policy of a country towards the committee topic. So if it's human, so the position paper will be stating the position of your country on human rights. If your general information is answered in the affirmative, then it would be fair to say that Czech or whichever delegation would support strengthening or human rights committee. That is the position that you should be reflected on your position paper. So once all the information is ticked as yes, that means that your country supports or respects human rights, and therefore that position should be reflected in your position paper. So next, most United Nations conferences require a delegate write a position paper, which is 2 pages maximum, to just state the position of country or delegation. So this is one of the instructions. You have to have a position paper not exceeding 2 pages, taking the position of country or delegation. Such, you can send a position paper for marking to the committee either before or during the conference. So the position paper. So on top, as the caption, or how should I refer it, as the head, they take it those committees. Then you have your topic. Your topic could be on human rights. It could be on weapons, non-proliferation of weapons, your country's name. And then you have the first paragraph. So the first paragraph of your question paper, first, it should never mention your country. So your delegation's name should never appear on the first paragraph of your position paper. Statements such as the Czech Republic or the Republic of China or whichever country, Kenya, Tanzania, should never be made here in the first paragraph. Or discuss the topic, for example, it's on human rights, it's on women's rights from an international and historical perspective. So where the origin of the topic, from where which human rights begin to be recognized or begin to be awarded human rights. So you include that information on the first paragraph. You can also discuss the general achievement of women in all countries, then lead into the struggle developing world. So all these are the equal perspective of the topic that should be included in the first paragraph. So concluding the first paragraph, you should talk about the contemporary issue or where women stand in the developing world as a whole. So let's say your topic is on women's rights. So the first paragraph should conclude by talking about the contemporary issues. What's the topic of the community? Women fall, or how do you relate the topic to? So that should be the concluding paragraph of your first paragraph, the concluding statement of your first paragraph. For you to get accurate information on generally the background or the position paper, on the background guide you've been given, you shouldn't simply repeat the information written on the background, but should paraphrase, do not copy it word by word, or even you can rely for guidance. You don't have to write your position paper. You copy information as it is and paste in your work. That is plagiarism, can be penalized. So in your position paper, you can also add recently passed UN resolution or specific country legislation. So there are domestic or international laws that you can rely on for your position paper. UN resolution on the topic at hand, and emails framework, or you can rely on them. So second paragraph, this part largely deals with the topic at hand from your country's position. Now here you can include statements of the delegation is. The statements can be used in the second paragraph as opposed to the first paragraph. So this paragraph should express 2 elements or ideas. The first one is what happened in the past or what is happening with regard to the topic at hand. For example, you're talking about, so what is currently happening in your delegation? Let's use the example of China. Currently, you can see China is violating human rights, the freedom to religion, Yeah, privacy and data access to information, the platform shuts down. So all this you can include in the second paragraph on paper. Also, your country's views on the issue. For example, we have different religions in the world. You can be a Christian and Muslim. So where your country's religion is, they are Muslims. Most of them are Muslims. Then you can set your position. Maybe your topic is on hijab. What's their position? A country like Kenya, where the main religion states the position. But now, what happened in the past or the general information cannot be, maybe all countries, it's all, some nations, maybe it's their first time experiencing the topic, example, weapons. Not all countries have weapons in their countries. They don't sell weapons in their countries. So for such nations, having the general information in the so it's not much that you have it there. Okay, now the third paragraph. What the content that should be included? What content should be included in the third paragraph? So your third paragraph gives the solution and the major contribution to your well-doing in the conference. So if you targeted the best position paper, best for the sessions or for the debate, then you should have a very good position paper. And your third paragraph should include basically the solution you've given to the problem at hand. Let's say there is too much use of weapon and nuclear weapons, biological weapons, the use of force, which is prohibited by the United Nations. So which solutions are you bringing regarding the topic at hand? For example, the topic is that of weapons, the UN denying use of force. Your first solution could be that all states should ratify legal framework, should ratify international laws and conventions prohibiting the use of weapons. You should discuss your nation proposes to do. You should discuss what your nation proposes to do in regard to your topic. So what does your country propose to do? What does say about the use of force or human rights or women's rights or the environment, whatever topic you have? So you should discuss what your nation proposes. For example, it's on human rights. You can say your country proposes that states should ratify conventions to make sure that human rights are not violated, or to promote the respect and encouragement of human rights for all nations. Also, in regard to now all paragraphs, with regard to the first, second, and third paragraph, the first and second should be a bit smaller. The third paragraph, because the third paragraph offers the solution to the problem at hand. So, in regard to paragraph length, the third paragraph should be longer than the other two. Also, if you are now this is just general comment. If you are shooting for the best delegate, it's just a word advice. If you're shooting for the best delegate, you can delegate will be factored in to distinguish above and below other delegates. So make sure you put so all of the position paper. Can you hear me? We'll talk about that. And then lastly, scroll down, please. Now you see the last paragraph there, it offers solution that the Russian Federation must also work to determine the different group and their demands. Must remember that from a political rather than military perspective, separatism is an international issue and must be treated as such. So the last paragraph offers the solution to the problem at hand. So that's everything I had for today. Thank you.
Okay, so if Joanne, you're finished, Ola did not get the chance to present, so we'll give her the chance to. And then after that, we'll move into the question and answer session. And then after that, we'll conclude. So Ola, do you have the floor?
We can't hear. Okay. Rules governing the resolution. Nema, could you swipe up, please? So it includes the working paper, the resolution amendments. I'm going to start with the working paper. For the working paper, it is intended to help the committee in its discussion and formulation of draft resolution. Earlier, I said draft resolution is a proposal submitted by one or more members of the commission or by a member state representing a group for it to be considered by the committee or to be adopted by the commission. So for the working paper requires the signature of the chair for it to be copied and distributed to the committee. It must not be written in a draft resolution format. Once it is introduced to the delegates may now consider working on it. They also do not require signature or votes of approval. Okay. Next is draft resolution, introduction of draft resolution. So a draft resolution may be introduced when it receives the approval of the. So it requires a simple majority of members present, that is 2/3 of the members present, for it to be passed. Only one draft resolution may be passed per topic area. After a draft resolution is passed, voting procedures will end and the committee will move directly into the second topic area, following the rules governing the setting of the agenda. I'll move on to amendments. So amendment is back in high school, if you studied history, it's a change, addition, something. So for amendment, once a draft has been approved by the chair, delegates introduce the draft resolution, and then a draft resolution will remain on the floor until the debate on that specific draft is postponed or has been passed. Delegate on a draft resolution proceeds according to the order of debate is reading, then they second it, then there's time for, then there's time against, and then amendments, and then voting. No delegate may refer to a draft resolution until it is formally introduced. Amendments and voting on amendments. Delegates may amend any draft resolution that has been introduced by adding to, deleting from, or revising parts of it. An amendment must have the approval of all the sponsors for it to be friendly and immediately added to the draft resolution. In case you're wondering who is a sponsor, the people present in the debate, they have to always support. They have to support they have to support a resolution. Yeah. They're also the initial drafters of a document and are the visionaries of the document ideas. They're expected to be fully supportive of it and may be called upon by the dais to explain its content. Okay, let me continue. An amendment must have the approval of the sponsors for it to be friendly. From Cynthia has requested for me to repeat who is a sponsor. A sponsor they're usually present in a debate. They're the initial drafters of a document and are the visionaries of the document ideas. They're expected to be fully supportive of it and may be called upon by the dais to explain its content. Okay, an amendment must have approval of all the sponsors for it to be friendly and immediately added to the draft resolution. If they do not agree to the amendment, it becomes an unfriendly amendment and it is debated both to the proposals of the amendment against the main sponsor of the resolution, and therefore the committee votes. Simple majority is required to pass the amendment. I've said it's 2/3 of the members who are present. Amendments to amendments are out of order. However, an amended part of a draft resolution may be further amended. So in case we made an amendment and we said when we started that delegates may decide to revise on the amendments that were made. So further amendments be made. If the submitted amendment contains a typological error, the corrected version should be submitted to the chair only and does not need to be circulated to the entire committee. So after the chair has received the correction, the chair will now, at his or her discretion, will announce the correction made in the later version. So preambulatory phrases may not be amended. For those who are wondering what is a preambulatory phrase, they state the reason for why the committee is acting on a given topic. They're always in a present participle form, and they're usually written in italics and with comma. An example is acting, affirming, or approving. So the preambulatory phrases may not be amended. The final vote on the amendment is substantive. Final vote on amendment is substantive, meaning from the way I've understood it, I think it involves a matter of major or practical importance to all concerned. I think for all members that are present, the way I've understood it. In case Glory or Mercy, I'm wrong, kindly correct me. And then NGO and observer nations will not be allowed to vote on amendments. Yes. I think I'm done.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much for all of that. Now, so I want to answer the question that Cynthia has asked in the chat box. Essentially, okay, if I may explain, a sponsor is the delegate who fully supports the resolution, the draft resolution that is being discussed. That is the first person of contact that any person who wishes to make amendments or who seeks clarification on the resolution is actually consulted. So essentially, well, to sum it all up, a sponsor is like a brand ambassador of the resolution. So that is the person you'll consult on all matters resolution, be it content, be it whatever, and they're the ones who actually lobby other delegates to vote for the resolution when time comes. So that is who our sponsor is. So in case you have any questions, Joseph and I are here to ask you. So Joseph, you could say hi to the delegates and then we'll proceed from there. Joseph? Joseph, are you in the room? Okay. So do any of the delegates have a question? You can unmute yourself and ask the question if you have one. Whether it be today's training or last week's training, I'll be here to answer it. Anyone with a question? Okay, as I wait for anyone to ask a question, Should you have any inquiries concerning conference registration, I would advise you, if you're a high school delegate, please do consult your high school advisor of your respective school. If your school is not registered, does not have an advisor who is currently in communication with Simon and the team, then you can definitely send us an email to applications@simon.net. Let me send you a message. I'll type that out in the chat box so that you can understand, so that you can know where exactly to, send your concerns to. But it's not just, it's not limited to just those who do not have advisors who are currently in communication with us, but it definitely helps. Does anyone at all have a question? Anyone?
Yes.
Yes.
When we were being explained to about voting, we're told that we're going to vote using placards. Could you please
Yes.
explain that further?
Okay. So when we're simulating conference, that is physically, when we're doing it physically, we usually use placards. They're more like, if I may say, a small, I don't want to call it a banner, but it's a piece of paper that's kind of laminated, and it usually has your country written on it. So that is how we usually vote during conference. So it's mostly used during procedural voting. Or if it's going to be substantive voting, then it's going to be voting by acclamation. If you've ever had this phrase that all those who are for this motion say aye, aye, all those against this say nay, nay, that is voting by acclamation. So essentially, if for the placards, that is, okay, the chair usually asks those who are for this motion, instead of them counting, asking each and every country one by one, which is roll call voting, they'll just ask you to raise them up. So, and then the placards that are raised are then counted, and then those are put down, that is for yes, and then those who are against a particular motion then raise their placards, and those are counted. So that is how placard voting goes. It's essentially a voting by acclamation, it's only that you don't speak. Yeah. I hope I've clarified that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else with a question, please feel free to ask a question. We're here to answer any of the questions you might have. Anyone else with a question?
Towards lobbying. Me, I have a question.
Pardon me, I can't hear you. Continue.
Question.
Uh-huh.
Could you repeat what lobbying means?
Okay, yeah. Lobbying. Okay. So lobbying is essentially me asking people to join my group and vote for a particular, so as a delegate, if I was a sponsor of a resolution, then I would ask a particular person, okay, so we have how many countries? Let's say 196, I believe. Let's say, so among the 196 countries represented in our committee, I'm the sponsor of a particular resolution. So when it comes to lobbying, I'll move around and speak to people and ask them to vote for the resolution that is that has been presented to the committee or is about to be presented to the committee. So it's like campaigning, me moving around, So it's essentially me moving around and asking people to it's me campaigning and explaining the reasons why you should vote for something in a particular way. So it could be a resolution, it could be a particular motion. You could also lobby for that. So let's say you don't want a particular resolution, if I may say, a particular resolution passed. So you can also lobby for or against. So it's usually just up to the sponsors to decide and work hard to convince members of the committee to vote a particular way. You have to go to them. It's not just expecting them to know what exactly they're voting for. So it's more like how elections are held. You have to move around and convince people and give them your manifesto and explain why exactly they should vote for you. So in comparison to other people. So that is how lobbying works in MUN. Yeah, I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that question. Anyone else with a question? Please feel free. Okay, so as I wait for someone else to ask a question, I would like to explain how exactly, concerning position papers, the one that is in the rules of procedure PDF, which I've shared a couple of times in the chat box, and which I will do again. So please make sure you download it before the meeting ends. When it comes to position papers, they're required exactly before conference, because should you submit it within a conference, then you won't be eligible for, sorry, you won't be eligible for winning the award of best position paper, and it will definitely weaken your chances of winning best delegate. So I would kindly request you to do your research before you draft your position paper and send it to your respective committee emails. So once you've registered and your advisor has informed you of which committee, which country you'll be representing, then start doing your research immediately. The conference will be happening on July the 22nd. So all position papers should have been sent the Friday before the conference week. So please make sure you've done your research. There's so many materials online. And as you've seen, the Rules of Procedure booklet has some MUN videos. You can also head on to our YouTube page, Sub-Saharan Model United Nations on YouTube, and you'll find these videos are recorded, and the training has been done in the same way that you guys have been trained. So you'll definitely understand it more that way. You can, in case you have any questions, always forward them to the email that I've sent in the chat box, as well as making sure that you you can also post them to your advisors, and they will ask us and we'll reply, and then we'll get back to you. So please keep doing your research. Make sure you understand how exactly MUN works, so that by the time we come to conference, we'll have very fruitful deliberations. And yeah, so does anyone have a question before I continue blabbering on and on? Anyone with a question, please ask. Is there, no one has a question at all? Even if it's not related to today's training, you can ask. If you are not sure about anything, please do ask, so that we can clarify it for you, so that you won't get confused in case of anything. So does no one else has a question? Okay, so
I have another question.
Okay, who? Bella or Leila?
It's Leila.
Okay,
Yeah. Could you repeat what a draft resolution is?
What a draft resolution?
Yes.
Okay, so a draft resolution is a draft resolution is a document that is prepared by the committee members on a particular issue. So a draft resolution, if I may say, it's a document that explains in detail how exactly you will deal with the agenda that had been set. So if it was matters to do with refugees, how exactly will you deal with the problem of refugees that is happening worldwide? If it is a matter, I'm trying to think of another topic. Whichever, be it security, be it humanitarian, be it economic or social, whatever topic it is, that's what a draft resolution addresses. If you'd like to get there are samples of draft resolutions on the internet. Just Google Model UN draft resolution and it will show you. If not, you can look at past international conventions by the United Nations. No, please note that international conventions by the United Nations. So let's say it's the Convention on the Rights of the Child, right? So you'll go and look at the preambulatory clauses, which are the clauses that, as the trainer had said, explain how exactly, the problem that the committee is dealing with. it breaks down the agenda into like bits and pieces. And then after that, we have the operative clauses, which now offer the solutions on how those will be dealt with. I don't know if they had touched on the how exactly a draft resolution is written. But okay, just to highlight. Tugi, do you have something to say? Okay, so a draft resolution, this is how it starts. So of course you have to highlight the committee. You'll start with the General Assembly, explain the committee, explain the agenda that is being discussed. You state your sponsors, you state the co-sponsors, you can state the signatories. So the sponsors and the co-sponsors are very important because, as I said, the sponsor is the brand ambassador, if I may say that. The co-sponsors are the people who will be consulted. So we have the brand ambassador, but they can't just make unilateral decisions. This is a joint effort. So we have the co-sponsors which come in, and they're the ones consulted whenever there's an unfriendly amendment, okay? And then whenever there's an amendment, sorry, of whichever kind. And then now we move into the preambulatory clauses, which are, if you Google, you'll find them. Preambulatory clauses explain how exactly, as I said, that they expound on the agenda, and they're usually written in, okay, they're usually underlined. About the italics, I'm not quite sure, but one thing I know is that they're usually underlined, and then all the clauses are usually separated by a comma. Then now when you get to the operative clauses, they're usually numbered, and then the clause itself is underlined, and then they're separated by semicolons. The only full stop that is ever seen in a whole draft resolution is at the very last operative clause. So that you should definitely take your time and get to understand that. Look at samples online. That's why we're telling you to do your research so that you can understand all of this. And then, yeah, you'll definitely understand how exactly draft resolutions come to be in the, during conference. Yeah. Anyone with a question? Anyone at all? Okay, so going once, going twice, going thrice. No one has a question at all? Okay. Joseph, would you like to say something to the students? Okay, does anyone with a question for the last time? Okay, so I would like to thank you for making time to come for this training session. I'm so glad that you could be here. We hope that you have learned as much as possible. Well, I hope you'll refer and research on the matters that we pointed out during this training. Should you have any questions, as I've said, consult your advisors who will get back to you. Yeah, any matters concerning conference that you're not sure of, please do send us an email. I've sent it in the chat, applications@simon.net, and we'll definitely try and get back to you in 24 to 48 hours. And then, yeah, so please prepare. There will be a mock debate coming up in the month of June. So please sign up for that, attend it, because that is when you'll get now to put all that you have learned in the last Saturday and this Saturday to practice. So that is really crucial. Make sure you attend the mock debate and get to understand. That is when you'll ask as many questions, you'll interact with the chairs that you will have during the virtual conference in July. So please engage in as much MUN content as you possibly can. Yeah, so in case you have any questions, please do forward them, ask the right channel so that you won't be confused. There's a lot of content out there, but you'll have to be very careful what exactly different MUNs have different ways of working. So if you have any questions that pertain to Simon, please do ask. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I'd like to point out. So or when is the next mock debate? It's in June. I can't quite remember the date, I'm sorry, but let me just check for you. Just a minute. I don't have seen someone else ask a question. Oh, okay. So just give me a minute. Let me consult. Let me check when the mock debate is. Meanwhile, anyone else can ask a question. Okay. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'll get back to you. I've consulted, and the second mock debate is on the 29th of May. So that is later on this month. So please make sure that you avail yourselves when the mock debate comes, sign up, prepare for that, do your research, and then I believe we'll have very amazing and fruitful deliberation. So until then, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for availing your time. We apologize for the technical glitches, and we hope to engage with you more in the future. And we hope that you grow in your knowledge of the world and become global citizens. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You may leave at your pleasure now. Thank you.
Thank you.